Hey guys, so I've been spending hours comparing the two SLOs, the new SLO and the old SLO. And I wanted to take my time because I definitely do not want to put information out there that is not accurate and that's unfair to the either model, right? I take this stuff very seriously for some crazy reason. I don't know why it's so important to me, but I know it's important to a lot of people. And I think when you're spending this type of money on an amp, you want to know what the deal is, right? And I'm not sponsored by anyone. This is just for the love of gear. So let's get into it very quickly. I'm not going to waste any of your time. I got the new amp and I couldn't get it to sound like the old amp. And I was like, all right, that's it. It's not the same amp. It may sound good, but it's not the same amp. And I spent more time and I realized that the biggest difference between the two amps is the presence taper. So on the new amp with the presence set to 5, which is a little bit respectable, I had to set the old amp to 8. Right now, listen, there's so many nuances here. It could be my tubes need to be root tubed. I don't even know. I mean, there could be so many different variables between two amps. But basically, I got the amps to a point where they sound pretty much indistinguishable, which I think is really, really important. I mean, indistinguishable in every aspect, right? Not just sound, but just everything. They sound pretty much exactly the same, which I think should be comforting for people, because I think people are like, well, I don't want the new ones because they're not as good as the old ones. I'm not an engineer. I don't know if the transformers are better made or whatever, but sonically the amps sound pretty much exactly the same. There's some updates to the new amp. I'm not going to get into the effects loop drama and all that stuff because I don't even use my effects loop. I just run it through other stuff. But what I want to talk about, which is the most significant, is that there's a tiny itsy bitsy little compression added to like the feel. Kind of like on a BE100, where you get this tiny little bounce. It's so subtle that you may not even realize it, unless you're A-Bing them. But it may give the impression that the amp's easier to play, even though it's super subtle. And it's something that like a clean boost or a slight itsy bitsy clean boost would compensate for. You wouldn't know the difference. So like, don't go selling your old SLO because there's a tiny little bit of compression. That's ridiculous. Sonically, the amps pretty much sound the same. Now, the new amp has a depth control. I have the depth control to 0. I'm not a big fan of adding like fluffy kind of like low end to my amp. I feel like it's not for me. But there's a little bit of girth you get from it. It sounds really big and it's kind of cool. I'll do like direct recorded stuff, but I have the amps dialed in pretty much the same. So I'm literally using a switcher and I'm switching between the amps as I'm playing the riff. And I mean, there's maybe a tiny little bit difference. Maybe one's a little bit more present still, but it's so negligible that it's not worth even mentioning. So I will do, you guys want to give me, hey, can you do this and do that? And can you compare it in this way? Whatever you guys want to hear, but I'm telling you right now, the amps sound pretty much the same. They're both unbelievable sounding amps. Everyone should be happy. Old owners should be happy. New owners should be happy. Everyone should be happy. And I'm glad that they sound. I would hate to find that Soldano put out an inferior, crappy SLO. That would be very upsetting for a lot of people. And I feel I can sleep at night knowing that you guys now know, for the people who don't get to try to these things, that they sound indistinguishable. And you may like the new one because it's got a little bit of softer feel, got a little bit more of a bounce to it. It's got the depth control out of the factory. Both phenomenal sounding amps. And for people who care about like the effects loop drama and all that stuff and whatever, that's an added bonus. So as I said, everyone should be really happy. I'll give you more sonic proof if you want sonic proof. So let me know what you guys want to hear or what context you want to hear it in. I didn't compare the clean tones. The one thing I want to say about the old amp is that the old amp has a little bit more of a saggy kind of feel to it. Not in a bad way, but it's kind of that like vintage sag, kind of like that kind of like low voltage mode on like a Plexi or something. So like, purists maybe like, yeah, that's an SLO. I don't know. It's so subtle. And you're playing hard rock. So it's like, I don't know how anyone hears that stuff. But anyway, moral of the story is the differences are very, very small. Very negligible, small. Both amazing amps. The SLO remains such a unique, magical amp, an essential amp for every amp collector. All right, guys, have a good night. See ya.